Hi, everyone. We are pretty much on time. I'm Amrita Tripathi, the founder of Tap In Tribe, a former journalist, and I'm delighted to bring you two stalwarts in conversation with me today to talk a little bit about the media and leadership, the media and career development, what we wish we'd known when we were journalists, working journalists, and what we'd like to talk about in terms of transitions, transferable skills, and much more. I hope you enjoy this conversation from wherever you are watching. Please feel free to put your questions or comments in as well. We should be able to see them. So first up, with no further ado, we have Sakthy Edmaruku, a communications specialist, a former broadcast journalist, and you're the host of the podcast, Sakthy Empowering You, which we'll talk about a little bit as well. Sakthy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Amrita.
It's
lovely being part of Tap In this conversation on media and leadership.
I'm really excited, Sakthy, not least because so many things have changed since we last were in this sort of environment. That was in a newsroom more than a decade ago. One of the things I want to ask you is, as someone who's spent a majority of your career as a journalist and then transitioned industries, what are one or two things you wish you had known? What are two things that might have made things easier? One or two tips you might have for people who are tuning in?
I think all journalists must realize that they sit on a mine of wonderful talent. They are great storytellers. They're great at research and investigation. They can adapt to difficult situations. So these are actually skills that every organization is looking for. So having a journalist come on board is something that organizations value and appreciate. So don't be afraid to take that leap and venture out and try out new occupations, because everyone appreciates the kind of insights that a journalist or a media professional brings with them.
And Shakti, it's one of those things, whether we're sitting in Asia or sitting in Europe where you are, Nikita's going to join us from the US. It's one of those things that no one really tells you in the newsroom, right? You kind of get on with your job. You're as good as your last story, move on to the next thing. It's when you prepare to transition or when you're exiting the industry, you realize there are actually very, very incredible skills that we develop in the newsroom, in the thick and fast and heat of things. I do want to ask folks, I hope you're able to see and hear us. Please give us a thumbs up or put it in the comments. Anna, we had not started yet. Anna, I hope you can hear us now. But Shakti, what are one or two skills you think when we look at, for example, having a good news sense, right? Knowing how to tell a story. These are skills that can be very helpful outside of the journalism space, potentially in the journalism adjacent space. Thank you so much, Lakshay, Malini, Laura. Thank you so much. What are some of the skills you found most helpful to you as you transition? And we can talk a little bit about what you did after that, what you're doing now, if that helps.
Sure. The skill that comes on top of my mind is storytelling. The job that I took up after my stint at Times Now was that of joining British High Commission as a communication professional. So over there, I realized that my main job was to weave interesting stories about UK and India working together, and being able to communicate the stories effectively to an audience on social media. Storytelling is a skill that many of us have, and it's valued. Research and investigation, because again, careful of what all has happened in the organization. If someone can be chronological study of what has been developed and put it together in a new story, that is valued. And then attention to detail, for attention to detail. These are something which these are some of the skills that are valued, and then critical problem solving. Every organization is that. We want people who can leave and do their bit, understand what are the problems, and offer innovative solutions to those problems. Those are the things which can be some of the jobs that I did after my stint as a journalist.
And And when we talk about, for example, Shakti, what you're trying to do with your podcast, right? As you transition now, you're a communication specialist, you're an entrepreneur yourself, you're looking at new things in the new year, which we're excited to discuss as well. What are some of the tips you have, for folks who might want to, let's say, test a few things out? We have lessons learned, we have lessons we wish we'd learned earlier. And of course, like you had told me in a conversation, there are things you have to unlearn. What are some of those tips?
I had to unlearn that, the pace with which we work is used. Everything has to be fast. Everything is like a breakaway situation. When I worked for an organization, a foreign mission, I realized that it's important to slow down, ensure that we have correct information to out to the audience. To vet the information from the headquarters, from other stakeholders who are privy to the information. It's very important that everybody on board is in line with what we are putting out. We are not working in silos. Working in silos does not happen as often in a newsroom. But pace with which we work is not necessarily pace with which organizations work. You need to understand the pace of each place that you work, and then adapt yourself to things. You can bring in your skills, bring in innovative solutions, but learn to work flow of the organization. That is very important. That in the new phase, you get more allies, and you are not allying and you are not distancing people who are already doing the job. So you're not distancing people who are already doing the job. So add value to what they do. That is something very important.
I think this concept of allyship we'll discuss. Shakti, I've just pinged you a message. People are still hearing an echo. I'm going to bring in Niketa, and if just take a look at that message if you can. Niketa, it's lovely, absolutely lovely to have you with us very early your time. So we're across 3 time zones. For those of you watching, you're probably watching us across 3 time zones. And Niketa's time zone is the earliest in the morning. Niketa is a senior director, the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at CUNY. She's also on the board of directors and the secretary of the Online News Association, ONA, a former journalist herself. And we had the privilege of, I had the privilege of working with Niketa when our paths crossed at a tech company that we no longer name too often. But Niketa, thanks so much for joining us bright and early this morning.